Minnesota is the newest state that could see change when it comes to their sport. So places like the Moorhead Spud, or I should say teams like the Moorhead Spud, could see their season just being canceled just because of the rising COVID-19 cases in the state. So we're going to continue to keep checking and see what Governor Walz says to find out how much it will impact them, and hopefully not as much as we're saying. Now, I do want to say that this team is currently undefeated with a current 6 wins and 0 losses. They're preparing for their playoff game, which is this Saturday. Now, they're hoping that the new restrictions doesn't impact their terrific season, and a local parent and coach is especially feeling the impact of this announcement.
It'd just be heartbreaking for these kids. It's a little bit special group for me, and obviously with having my son on the team and knowing these kids for a long time, it would be heartbreaking to not see it being able to finish.
Now, Governor Walz is going to be having his meeting today at 6 p.m., so that's going to be tonight at 6 p.m., and it's going to be talking about the current restrictions, if there are going to be any, for the sports teams. Also letting people know that it could talk about bars, restaurants, and fitness centers as well. So let's hope that the field for the Moorhead Spuds isn't like how it is kind of like right now. I mean, it's empty right now because it's the morning, but in general, we don't want to have to see the field empty because of the changes, but if rising COVID-19 cases happens to be the concern, then they're going to decide what they feel like is best. But we will add on our VNL app about the different changes that we are going to see once that meeting is conducted.
It's a tough balance for sure. Like you mentioned, stay with Valley News Live for our news at 6, and also we'll be pushing out information on our VNL News app. Thank you, Brian. The City of Fargo is also hosting its latest COVID-19 briefing this morning at 11. It will feature updates from public health professionals and local health systems on the COVID-19 pandemic. You can watch a live stream hosted on the City of Fargo's Facebook and Twitter accounts. He calls himself a jock, but a Fargo man is calling out a petition drive aimed at bringing winter activities back for North Dakota athletes. Mark Winkleman says his dad tested positive for COVID-19 on Halloween and then died 6 days later. He says the family never got to say goodbye, give their dad a hug, or even have a funeral. Winkleman wants people to be aware of the consequences of their actions, especially as case numbers continue to explode.
Please, people, just think of the ramifications of what you're doing. There are things that are more hard for me to say this. I'm a jock myself, but there are things more important than life than sports.
When Winkleman's father tested positive, there were about 7,000 active cases of COVID-19 in the state. That number has now surpassed 10,000. A Jamestown nurse is making a big-time sacrifice. Rachel McDonald has been isolating for more than 100 days and hasn't hugged her loved ones during that entire time. She says she's been working a lot at the hospital and wants to keep her family safe and make sure she can go to work each day amid the pandemic. She says it hasn't been easy, but also says it has been worth it.
I am a huge hugger. Hugging is my absolute favorite. So it is hard for me not to do that, but I know the benefit of not doing it outweighs the risk right now.
McDonald is asking you to do your part as well and take precautions to help overwhelmed hospitals around the state. South Dakota's largest city is reversing course and going forward with a mask mandate after penalties were taken out of the ordinance. The Sioux Falls mayor cast a tie-breaking vote against a mandate last week, but now says he's behind the rule after hearing from the state's largest physician organization. South Dakota, like North Dakota, is suffering through one of the worst virus outbreaks in the nation. North Dakota is working on a distribution plan for when the COVID vaccine becomes available. And the latest details have some people in the healthcare community concerned about who's a priority and who is not. According to the latest drafts, Tier 1 includes unvaccinated long-term care residents and family members living with healthcare workers. Tier 2 includes first responders, pharmacists, teachers, and grocery store workers. That puts people age 65 and older and those who are at high risk for adverse COVID-19 outcomes in Tier 3. The timelines and vaccine rollouts are still fluid, and the list could change by the time the vaccine becomes readily available. The state's Vaccination Ethics Committee will be working on the list again next week and could vote on it then. Mild but windy. Let's get a check of that First Alert Storm Team forecast with meteorologist Lisa Green.
Yeah, we've got a big warm up coming here for today compared to our average highs here. And just taking a look at things, over the last couple of weeks, we started off warm. We set those record highs, and then we dipped below average in the blue area for recent days and just kind of been hovering around there. But check out the future, the next 10 days. We've got a nice warm up coming up today, and we just generally stay above average, which is 36, at least for this date in Fargo. And if you're looking ahead to Thanksgiving, wondering how the temperature at least is going to be, right now, looks pretty close to normal, maybe slightly above. And of course, we'll have more details on that holiday forecast as it gets closer. But it's nice to see those numbers on the upward trend here. And this morning, we're starting off really mild, upper 20s to some 30s. It's 34 in Fargo and in Fergus Falls, so well above our average lows for this date. And we're above freezing in a couple of spots. So we're going to be melting away some of that snow that we got earlier this week. And wind speeds are strong. We talked about this being an issue this morning, and we are seeing those gusts to close to 30, both in Fargo and in Fergus Falls. Out of the southeast, we may see some 30-mile-per-hour gusts this morning. That'll make it feel a little cooler than it actually is. We're talking some temperatures more feeling like we're into the teens in 20s for your wind chills. So variable cloudiness here today, but more likely on the cloudy side as we work our way through the daytime hours. I'm hoping we'll get at least to see a little bit of sunshine here in some spots, and breezy conditions to start out at the bus stop. We're looking at temperatures again in that upper 20 to low 30 degree range here. And then heading into the afternoon, the kids heading home from school, that heavier coat might feel a little too warm. And we're looking at temperatures in the south more into the 50s with some mostly cloudy skies. And the wind, I think, will give us a little bit of a break. Still some winds into the teens, but not too bad. And here's a look at around the valley. We're looking at about 40 up along the border and some 50s down in the south today. So looking pretty good. Today will be the one day we're looking at temperatures that are going to be on the cooler or warmer side. Then we're going to start to see things start to cool down a little bit by the time we end into the weekend. We'll be in the upper 30s.
Okay, enjoy it while we have it. Thank you, Lisa. New this morning, Bemidji police want your help finding this missing teenager. Police say 16-year-old Courtney Larson left the Arco gas station on her own last night around 11:45. She's about 5'3", 110 pounds with black hair and blue eyes. Her picture's up on your TV right now. Take a look. If you know where she could be, please call police. A man is dead and a teenager is facing charges after a car-pedestrian crash in Mandan. It happened yesterday morning around 5. Police say the 19-year-old driver sideswiped a man who was standing next to a parked car on a city street. The victim is a 42-year-old from Bismarck. 3 calves died in a cattle truck rollover in Bismarck. The Highway Patrol says the truck driver lost control on an I-94 Cloverleaf exit in Bismarck. The truck overturned and the roof of the trailer busted open. Take a look at this picture. It allowed about a dozen head of cattle to escape into the median. Police, firefighters, and other passing drivers stopped to help contain the cattle until they could be loaded back onto another truck. A Cass County man is awaiting sentencing after pleading guilty to a deadly attack outside a Horace bar. Jordan Pendleton punched the victim in the face, then the victim hit his head on the sidewalk. Pendleton pleaded guilty this week to manslaughter and aggravated assault. 31-year-old Marlon Klatt died of his injuries after the assault at Big Herb's Bar on June 28th. A spectacular scene on a lake in Central Asia. Take a look at this, the site of a seasonal migration of pink flamingos. The large flock of exotic birds stopped by along their route, huddling together on the surface of this vast lake. The flamingos are expected to fly from here to Iran or to the south of Kazakhstan. Let's get our answer now to our question of the morning on Facebook. Here's today's question. 9% of parents say this is stressing them out the most. I feel like the percentage is way too low in this survey question. The answer, helping kids with their homework, especially difficult during distance learning, at least in the Badeau house. The Today Show and CBS This Morning are just about to start. But remember, the Valley Today rolls on. Join us right now for more live up-to-the-minute news and weather on the Fargo CW.